The Lost Colony. Dr. Amanda Wells had been on numerous archaeological expeditions, but none promised the mystery and thrill of the lost colony of Roanoke. Legends spoke of the original settlers vanishing without a trace, leaving behind only a cryptic message carved into a tree, Crotone. Determined to uncover the truth, Amanda assembled a team of experts and set out for the site, their minds filled with anticipation and dread. The journey was arduous, taking them deep into the heart of the North Carolina wilderness. As they approached the supposed site of the colony, an eerie stillness settled over the landscape. The forest seemed unnaturally quiet, the usual sounds of wildlife absent. Amanda felt a chill run down her spine, but she dismissed it as excitement mixed with fatigue. They set up camp near what they believed was the heart of the old settlement. The first night was uneventful, but Amanda couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Shadows flickered at the edge of the firelight, and the wind whispered through the trees like a hushed warning. The next morning, the team began their excavation. They unearthed remnants of wooden structures, fragments of pottery, and tools that hinted at the daily lives of the settlers. But as they dug deeper, the signs of a struggle became apparent. Broken arrows, shattered muskets, and crude barricades told a tale of conflict and desperation. "Look at this," Dr. Ethan Marshall, the team's historian, called out. He held up a small, leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed with age. Amanda took it carefully, flipping through the brittle pages. The writing was faded, but legible. The entries detailed the settlers' arrival, their hopes and struggles, and then a growing sense of fear. "The natives grow more restless by the day," one entry read. "We hear strange noises at night, whispers carried on the wind." Some claim to have seen figures moving through the trees, eyes glowing like embers in the darkness. "Our numbers dwindle, but it's not disease or hunger that takes them. It's something else." As Amanda read aloud, the team gathered around, their faces pale in the fading daylight. The journal's final entry was particularly chilling. "They come from the shadows, not men but demons. We can do nothing to stop them. If you find this, know that we fought to the last breath, but the darkness took us all." A sense of unease settled over the group as the sun dipped below the horizon. They decided to call it a day, retreating to the safety of their camp. That night, the forest came alive with unsettling sounds. The wind howled like a banshee, and distant cries echoed through the trees. Amanda lay in her tent, gripping the journal tightly, her mind racing with thoughts of what might have happened to the settlers. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night. Amanda bolted upright, grabbing her flashlight and scrambling out of her tent. The rest of the team was already awake, their faces illuminated by the flickering campfire. "Where's Ethan?" someone shouted. They found Ethan's tent empty, the flap torn open. Footprints led away from the camp, deeper into the forest. Amanda's heart pounded as they followed the trail, their flashlights casting long, eerie shadows. The footprints ended at a clearing, but there was no sign of Ethan. "What the hell is going on?" muttered James, the team's geologist, his voice shaking. Amanda's flashlight flickered, then died. She cursed under her breath, fumbling for spare batteries. As she looked up, she saw movement at the edge of the clearing. Figures emerged from the darkness, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. They were human-like, but twisted, their bodies gaunt and covered in dirt. The whispers from the journal echoed in her mind. "Run!" Amanda shouted, but it was too late. The creatures descended upon them with terrifying speed. Amanda felt cold hands grab her, pulling her into the darkness. She fought back, kicking and screaming, but the strength of the creatures was overwhelming. Her vision blurred as she was dragged through the forest, the sounds of her team's desperate cries fading behind her. The creatures brought her to a hidden cave, the entrance obscured by thick foliage. Inside, the air was damp and musty, the walls covered in strange symbols that seemed to writhe and pulsate. Amanda was thrown to the ground, her flashlight rolling away and casting erratic beams of light across the cave. She could see the remnants of what might have been the settlers' last stand, bones, scraps of clothing, and the crude barricades described in the journal. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light, she saw Ethan, huddled in a corner, his eyes wide with terror. They won't let us leave," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "They feed on our fear, our despair." The creatures surrounded them, their glowing eyes fixed on Amanda. One stepped forward, its face inches from hers. It spoke in a voice that sounded like nails on a chalkboard. "You have trespassed on sacred ground. The darkness has claimed this place, and now it claims you." Amanda's mind raced, searching for a way out. She remembered the symbols on the cave walls, wondering if they held the key to their escape. "Ethan, help me with these symbols," she said urgently. Together, they began to trace the patterns, hoping to disrupt whatever dark magic held them captive. The creatures grew agitated, their whispers rising to a frenzied pitch. The air grew colder, and the walls seemed to close in around them. But Amanda refused to give up. She repeated the symbols over and over, her fingers numb from the cold. Suddenly, there was a flash of light, and the cave trembled. The creatures shrieked and recoiled, their forms dissolving into shadows. Amanda and Ethan were thrown back, their heads spinning. When Amanda opened her eyes, the cave was empty. The symbols on the walls had faded, and the oppressive darkness was gone. They stumbled out into the forest, the first light of dawn breaking through the trees. Back at the camp, the remaining team members were overjoyed to see them. They packed up quickly, eager to leave the cursed site behind. As they drove away, Amanda couldn't shake the feeling that the darkness was still watching, waiting for another chance to claim them. They returned to civilization, but the memories of the lost colony haunted them. The journal, now safely stored in a museum, served as a grim reminder of the horrors they had faced. Amanda knew she would never forget the lost colony of Roanoke and the darkness that still lurked in the shadows of the past.